The next thing we have to do is start pulling out parts so we can laser cut them or 3D print them. I'm going to go over how to laser cut these parts. If you're going to 3D print them, it's very similar, okay? I'll give you a quick rundown on that actually here. So, first I'm going to select the lid here, right click and hide it, okay? I should probably actually hide a couple of these parts. Okay, so now I've got the most important parts here, okay? So we have in purple parts that need to be 3D printed, okay? These are specialty parts that have to be 3D printed. To mount all your electronics, they all mount to the back plate, so you're going to need to mount that to those, okay? So, if I want to 3D, that's a big part to 3D print if you can, but I would suggest laser cutting this or milling this out of like wood or plastic or something, right? You don't need to see through this side, but you right click here, right click on it. Okay, so first of all, nothing's clicked. I'm clicking in the white space. If I do have things selected, you'll notice my mouse has a number next to it. That means there's two things selected. I don't want that, right? I click out here in the white space. I hover over this surface here, right? Not this surface here. If I hover over this surface, it's literally going to pull out this. I want to hover over this surface right here. Shows everything yellow. Right click on it. If I'm going to 3D print this, I just want to export it, right? Export, and then it gives me some export options, okay? So chances are you want it as an STL and text format. Everything's in millimeters. Resolution, you don't need anything more than medium. And then download and hit OK. If I hit this, if you watch the bottom here, you'll see that it's been downloaded, right? So that's just downloaded an STL of this. But I'm going to be doing mostly laser cutting, okay? Except for the purple parts. So I'm going to right click on this, export as a DXF or DWG, right? I'm going to call this rear panel. Okay. I'm going to bring it in as DXF, release 14, and options to download. If I have this all connected, like I could have this sent straight to my like Octoprint or my Google Drive. Like Onshape's pretty cool about that. But I'm just going to download this here. Okay. Hit export. And there it is. So now I've got this downloaded. So just to verify this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Lightburn here. Okay. Popular uh, laser cutting program. Trying to fit it in the screen here nicely. All right. And so I don't have anything set up, so it's going to be a little small here. But I'm going to open up my folder here and under my downloads, right? So File Explorer and then go to Downloads, and it should be, there it is, a DXF of my rear panel. I'm just going to drag this in here. And there it is. Okay. It's about as wide and about as tall as I wanted. And I had imported correctly. Cool. Okay. So from here, then I would, change my power settings, change my speed settings, and then start cutting this out on whatever piece of acrylic, piece of wood, whatever I wanted in back here. Okay. So I guess we could get even trickier here. I'll close this. So then we got to cut this back panel out, right? We also got to get the y-axis NEMA motor mounts out. So I'm going to right click on this one. So that's Y NEMA left. Okay. Right click on this one. Export as DXF. Y NEMA right. Okay. Then we have our X NEMA. X NEMA. Okay. And then we have our gantry brackets. Export this as gantry left. Okay. See, unselect that. Right click on this. Export this as gantry right. Okay. And then, since I'm doing a dual laser, this is a single laser bracket here. Okay, so with this one, you can do really high speed moves, but just one laser here. Okay, this one, you're going to have to run a little slower if you have two lasers on here. But I'm going to right click on this and export this as my dual laser bracket. Okay, export that. Cool. So what do we got here? We got the back. We got the gantry mounts. We got the motor mounts. What else do we need here? We need oh, yes, a switch. So to switch between lasers, I put a switch right here, okay? So we're going to right click on this and export this as laser switch. If you have a single laser, you do not need this bracket. And I got one on the other side, just in case you like to be symmetric. And we can not cut this hole out too. I'll show you that here also. So I'm going to right click. So I'll export as right side filler. Filer, sure. Nice and spelled wrong. Oh, yes, we have two more things. We have the y-axis end stop mount. So y end stop. And then we have our x-axis end stop. There it is. Okay. X-axis end stop. Ed stop, sure. Okay. So here's, oh, yes, one more very important part, our power supply mount. I guess we need to mount a power supply to this thing. Right click on this. Export that. PS mount. Cool. Okay, so now we got a ton of parts, right? So I'm not sure what software you're using, but I'm going to be using Lightburn on mine here, okay? So this back piece I'm going to be doing at a 1/4 inch acrylic, which I'll also need to cut my NEMA mounts and my gantry brackets out of. So I can bring my gantry in here. My gantry left. I wonder if that'll fit in there. Oh yeah, it fits in there. Cool. Oh, I'm gonna group those so we don't mess them up there. Okay. Very cool. And then I'll do the Y's. So Y NEMA left. And Y NEMA right. All right. So then I still need to cut some other pieces out. I guess I'll fit the x-axis to the side here. X NEMA. I don't want to cut it out of out of the backside. There we go. All right. So then I would have it cut this. I don't know what program you'll be using. I'm with Snowco Makerspace in Everett, Washington, and we use Lightburn on our lasers. So this is a program we'll be using. So I'll cut all these parts out, right? And then out of thinner material, out of 1/8 inch material, I'll be cutting the other little pieces out. So I'll be cutting the Y end stop, the X end stop, and the power supply mount. So yeah, those are out of thinner material. They can also be out of thicker material, but it doesn't need it at all. You can just cut this out of 1/8" or 3mm material. Okay. So those are the necessary parts right there. Whoops. Gotta bring that back. Okay, so the other parts, so it would function like without all the sides and stuff here, right? It doesn't need that. It doesn't need the alignment tool. It doesn't need any of that. These are all the necessary parts to build this. Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everything back. So right click in white space and show all parts. Don't show all, because that's going to show all the drawings too. Just show all parts. Okay. So now this right side, I can export that, right? Export as, I guess that's the left side, huh? Left side. Okay. Right click, export the right side. Now these have to be thinner, like the 3mm acrylic or 3mm, wood or whatever you want. Okay. The rear panel is a 1/4 inch thick. Should be a 1/4 inch thick. I'll make sure it's that for your drawings when it's publicly available here. Now this little piece right here has to be the same height as this, right? So typically use 3mm for the lid here. Okay. I guess if I select part 41, that's the whole lid piece. Now, if I were to take this and just click here and export, what it's going to do is if you look at that yellow line that goes around it, that's all it's going to export. It's not going to bring out the whole lid. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to go to my sheet metal view. Okay. Now, it's not actually sheet metal, it's acrylic, but it has similar bend properties to metals. So over here on the right, there's a sheet metal table. Okay. Now from here, now I can right click and export. So you'll see how as I'm scrolling over things, it's just yellowing around this piece right here, right? Until I get to export DXF of flat pattern. Now it's a whole thing. So if I hit this, now I can do this and call it lid. Okay. So it's got a little bit of information in here. I'll show you that here. So I'm going to go back to my downloads and look for lid. There's lid. Bring it in. Okay. So if I were to cut it right now, I'd be cutting the lid apart, right? I don't want to do that. So I can either delete these lines, right? Because I just need the hinge holes and the handle holes up here. Or I can take these, I can make them a different layer and just do a scoring so I can easily line them up on my bender. Okay, or I can follow it with my kitchen torch to bend it. I've done that too. That works just fine. It's just not as pretty as taking it to an actual heat bender and bending the acrylic lid. Okay. So, whoops. Let's get back to... There we go. Okay. So, close the sheet metal tab. That's how you export things, okay? So, things are in your way right here. You right-click on them, hide them, and then all the brackets you need and the back panel. You right-click on the surface you want to export, and then you hit export as DXF, and then download them, and then open them up with your favorite laser tool and start cutting those out. Thanks for watching.